Farms. Today we're going to talk a little bit about setting up a brooder, and this is really an inside brooder for those of you when you get your freshly hatched chicks from either a local breeder or a company. You want to have a nice place that you can put them. I tend to use the storage bins. They're relatively cheap. You can find them just about anywhere, your local hardware store, Lowe's, Home Depot, etc. They're easy to clean and they're see-through and quite light, so that really any chicken mama or father can move them around the house if they so choose and put them in different locations. They also come with a cover, which is great, which I modify with a screen. I just cut out the top and a couple of zip ties and you have your brooder cover, because even though those little puff balls are not flying around when you first get them, within a couple weeks you're going to need a cover. So keep that in mind. The first thing I do is I wash the entire thing out, and I use a solution of bleach and water, and I leave that right on the brooder to dry. That's the best way for that bleach to take effect and kill any organisms that might be on that brooder. Then once it's dry, you just wipe it down and you're ready to go. One of the first things that I use is puppy pads. Now you might think, Andy, we're doing chicks here, we're not doing puppies. Well, those little chicks poop a lot, depending on how many you put in this brooder, and the puppy pads are really absorbent. They're soft, which when the chicks are sleeping and moving around, something soft on their feet to start off with, and they're easily disposable. And you can pick up a pack of puppy pads for, $10, 25, etc. Or if they're on sale, even better. And it works really well. So I just take one puppy pad and I kind of fold it to the size that I want into my brooder. It will go. And I leave one side on the end without the pad, and I do that on purpose because of the food and the water that eventually will make its way down there. Chicks will spill that water and walk through it, and so you really want that water to go elsewhere than just soaking up on the puppy pad all the time. My next thing that I always use a heat plate, a brooder plate. I don't use heat lamps, just not needed. These are the way to go. You can find these name brand and generic kind just about anywhere. They're a little pricey. One of the things I would suggest to you is, if you're debating the size, go bigger every single time. The cool part about these is they have adjustable legs, okay? So that as your chicks grow, you can just adjust the size of the brooder so that they can get under it. One of the things that I do early is I make it so that it's on a slant. So I put the front legs at a higher height than the lower legs, and that allows the chick to kind of self-regulate itself with its temperature. If it's not close enough to the heat pad, it moves further back. If it's too hot, it might go forward or just stand there, and that just again allows another level of comfort for your chicks. One thing before I put this down that I will say is you want to put some type of cover on that heat plate. When they can, they're going to play king of the mountain on the top of that heat plate, and they're going to poop all over it. So I tend to put a piece of cardboard, I cut holes and put them right down over these yellow slots and put it on top. And the good part about that is I can just take that off when it becomes dirty and put a new piece of cardboard on. I've also used just plain old paper towel, cut a hole in the paper towel, same thing, just to secure it. They do sell these triangular pieces that you put on that will keep them off, but that's a few extra bucks that I don't need to spend. It works just as well. So that's my primary thing. Another reason that I really like the heat plates is that there's no light. And the reason that's good is that When chicks are starting to get used to the outside world, I want them to get used to the night and day cycle. And so if you have a light on them all night long, they never get used to that dark and light, which is when they go to roost and sleep and when they're awake and more active. And so this just begins that cycle so that in the evenings when I shut off the room light, it's dark, but they are still warm, which is obviously the biggest thing. The next thing you're going to need is something to put water in. Now, I use covers to various containers, etc. I'm usually looking for something without a lip. Now, you can use the pre-made covers as well. That works in the jar. I just tend to use these because they're quick and they're easy. When chicks are first hatched, they're kind of stumbling around, and it doesn't take much to trip them up. So I try to go with a little bit of a lower level type of cover. One of the other things that I also do is I put glass beads, rocks in the bottom of that water, and I cover the entire bottom with that, and then I fill it with my water source. The reason I do that is kind of twofold. One, chicks like to peck on shiny things. So when they see different colored stones, etc., shining in the water, they're naturally going to peck at that, which will encourage them to drink. The other piece is, in case you haven't noticed, chicks tend to fall asleep just about anywhere they want. And one of the things this does is it helps prevent that accidental drowning for the chick that just falls into the water, can't get back up, etc. Because what happens is, if you put enough of these stones in here, it allows for the chick not to be able to get its head all the way down into the water, and the rocks are actually supporting his head. But they can still drink in between the rocks, which make it easier for them. And so I'll do that for a good couple of weeks and just clean that out every single time. And it really makes a difference when it comes to your habits of your chicks and their overall welfare. When it comes to feed, again, I use the same type of container as that. I use Chick Starter. I use the medicated type. Really all that is amperolium is in there for a medication, and that is to prevent coccidia. And that bacteria is basically in the ground and in the dander and in the dust and everything else that once they're starting to go outside, they're going to get exposed to. And if you've ever had coccidia go through a group of chicks, it can wipe them out like that. So you really need to think about, what can I do to prevent that? And that's just something that we do. It makes a little less worry. Yes, you can treat for coccidia after the fact, but honestly, sometimes you don't even know it's happening until it's too late. And so I'd rather be a little proactive when it comes to that. That is my personal choice. You can choose what you want. I do know up here there's a lot of folks who every year post on social media, etc., that their chicks are dying and they don't know why. And 9 times out of 10, it's coccidia, and they haven't been feeding a medicated feed, which I think is just an easy way to go for all of that. My next thing that I add, and you're pretty much good when you're looking at this. This is what your brooder is going to look like pretty much with your feed. I add a final component. I add a feather duster, and I know it seems a little funny, but I either tape that to the corner of the brooder, or I have cut a hole in the top of the brooder and I slot it in, and I leave it so that it's about this far off the ground. And I do that as just another thing to comfort the chicks. This feather duster kind of mimics the mother hen on the bottom. The chicks love running in and out and peeking through the feathers and just staying safe and secure in that feather duster. when they come out of the egg. It takes them a couple of days to figure it out, but once they do, they really enjoy playing around it and feeling those feathers, just like that mother hen is on top of them and keeping them safe. It's just something I do, again, that keeps them safe. I tend to use some electrolytes and probiotics in their water. One of the things is chicks tend to get something called pasty butt, and that's caused from by a few different things, but basically it's stress, it's climate, it's temperature, etc. And so one of the things that I do is I put a little electrolytes in the water, little probiotics as well at times, but I also tend to use cornmeal. And what I do is I just take a little bit of cornmeal and I just sprinkle that in the water. And so what that's actually doing is they're getting a little bit of solids when they're drinking that water. And that's kind of going through their tract a little bit, and their digestive tract, and helping the whole process. Now, you don't want to cover the water in it. You're basically sprinkling it on top. And again, it's just one other thing that you can do to try to help your chicks thrive. We have chicks hatching here in a couple of weeks. We set our first batch in the incubator behind me, and we're pretty excited for that first early batch. It's an exciting process for young and old. So, this has been Andy from Why Not Farms, helping you with your brooder. We hope you all have a great day. Hit that like button, subscribe, share with your friends.